Hi, we're here to talk about the issue of bullying in the UK film and TV industry and what support is out there. I'm the host, Justine, and I'm the Bullying Pathway Advisor at the Film and TV charity. It's part of a suite of anti-bullying services that are free and available for anyone working behind the scenes. I'm really excited to be talking to James Taylor and Meriel Beale about their thoughts on bullying in the industry and to answer any questions they have about the charity services.
Hi Meriel, hi James. Firstly, I'd love to hear a bit about you and your backgrounds and why you're here today to talk about the issues of bullying.
Hi Justine. Yeah, thanks for having me on this today. I've been in TV for about 20 odd years and I've always freelanced. So I've worked my way up from runner / secretary person to exec. So I've kind of seen all the good, the bad and the ugly of TV. I've mainly been in unscripted, in entertainment, comedy entertainment, factual entertainment. And I really started campaigning in the last couple of years when partly when the film and TV charity had their Looking Glass survey, which came out, and I read that and was absolutely shocked by the results. And at the same time was in a situation myself where there was bullying and gaslighting going on. And I felt like this is time, things have to change. It's time for a change. And I also felt like if I'm not going to speak up with my seniority, experience, and all the rest of it, who is going to? Let's start shouting about this.
Well, Justine, thanks a lot for having me along today. I'm James Taylor. I'm a series producer, series director. I've been kicking about the same amount of time that Meriel has. And I suppose the reason I was interested in talking to you guys today is that I've also got another hat. I'm chair of the Back2 Unscripted committee, which formed last year. And I've been involved with Viva la PD group since that started a few years ago. I know a bit about the Pathway service, and I know that's why we're here to talk about things today. But I don't really know that much about it. Like what happens if I am being bullied? What happens if I make that initial step and pick up the phone and make a call? Because I think there's a lot of freelancers out there that just don't know where to turn, and this sounds like would be a good resource for them.
So if you feel like you are currently in a situation where you're experiencing bullying, or it might be that you've experienced bullying in the past, or it might even be that you've got concerns about somebody else being bullied, you can call the support line number and say you have concerns over bullying, you'd like to explore them further. They will book in an appointment with me. They'll set a time aside and I will call that person back at the agreed time and we will talk about it.
Yeah, when people ring the number, do they get through to a human being?
So yes, a human being will answer the phone and they will have an initial chat with you. They'll find out a bit about what's been going on, and then they will signpost you. They'll have some resources they can put you in touch with, but they'll also be able to make an appointment with me.
And so, Justine, can I ask you, when you've had those chats with them, where are the different avenues that you can then take people?
Everybody's really different. Sometimes this has happened in the past, in the recent past, or sometimes a really long time ago, but have had a cumulative effect on somebody. So it's not like somebody wants to actively do something concrete now, but they want a sort of a chance to reflect on how it's affected them and how to deal with it moving forward. Sometimes that could lead somebody to personal therapy. Sometimes it's really useful to have a further space to think about those things and learn some techniques around anxiety management or boundary formation or communication. Sometimes it's an actual sort of legal issue. Sometimes it has a legal dimension, and I can refer people for individual legal advice. So there's many roads we can go down. There's no letters to be written or steps to be taken. It's really just helping that person integrate the things that have happened to them and try and sort of find a way of doing that in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I find people call me quite often for advice, and I often send them your way. But it's interesting that when they call me, and I should just say, by the way, that I'm also in my as a volunteer, I'm the Back2 Unscripted anti-bullying and harassment officer. And people call me, and I think they want two things. They want just to be listened to, and they also want to hear that they're not being unreasonable a lot of the time. And they come out with these terrible stories. They're never being unreasonable. But it's just, I think, hearing it from an objective point of view, those seem to be the two main things that I get.
I suppose one of the things with our industry is that there are a lot of unusual ways of working that sort of have become very normal, and it's like it's just the way it is, and a lot of people don't question that. And I think one of the things that as an industry we're not very good at is looking after people and making sure they're supported. No one gets any management training in how to manage a team or look after people. So even if bullying does happen, people don't know where to go or what to do and how to deal with it. And so I suppose what should someone do if they are being bullied but they're not sure about it, like Meriel said, and how can you help with that, Justine?
I think you've both touched on something really important, which is the kind of initial "am I being bullied?" question. It's such a solutions-based industry, it's all about making things happen, making things work. So I think people do really suffer from kind of knowing, is this normal? Am I reading this right? So it is really useful for people to sort of step out, I think, and talk to somebody neutral and kind of sense check. And then they can, see that actually, things have got, become unbearable or become overwhelming.
And are you finding, Justine, that you're massively in demand? Because I imagine that you must be inundated, sadly.
Yes, sadly, and we have had a massive uptake. And yes, that is a sad reflection. Nobody wants anybody to be in the state as James said, where this service is necessary. But I think we're sort of realising that absolutely it is.
Yeah, I just wonder, Justine, whether the recent allegations about Noel Clarke sparked a huge response, certainly amongst my WhatsApp groups. They all lit up, and all the women in particular were talking about sexual harassment, their own experiences of it. It seemed that every single person had a story to tell, and that led to me writing an open letter which was saying that this isn't normal, this has been accepted, but it isn't acceptable, and it got signed by over 2,000 people. And there seemed to be a general outpouring at that time, people kind of waking up and saying, what is going on? Did you find at that time that there was a sudden uptake in your services?
Not a sudden uptake, but yes, definitely a ripple effect. Yes, definitely. Because I think exactly as you're saying, Meriel, people read things in black and white, and it really kind of brings to mind similar situations that people have experienced. And I think when they see them written down to other people, there is that more of a sense of sort of injustice. But there's also, I think, a growing sense of collective accountability and how do we protect other people. I mean, that's a message that I get a lot about, look, something, this has happened to me. I can't go back and change the past, but I'd hate for that to happen to somebody else. And I'd love to know what kind of steps could be taken now. So I think people really feel involved, and that it's time to join forces and actually be heard.
I think one of the striking things that I realised is that we work in an industry that doesn't really have an HR department. There isn't really a department specifically for humans. And I think that is a bit of an issue. And for example, it means that technically the person that you should be reporting, any bullying or harassment to, your line manager, might be the person that's actually perpetuating the bullying. And so in that case, who do you turn to? Who do you go to? I suppose that this pathway service is probably a good starting point, right?
Yeah, I hope so, because I totally agree, and that is really common, especially in really small companies. There are very few avenues to report concerns that are going on. And as you say, what if the only person you can talk to is the person responsible? Also, all the other issues that are sort of unusual to our industry, which people on location, often for a long period of time. They don't have much contact with the outside world. They don't know who's in the production office. They don't have any contact with them, so they feel really isolated. I think there are lots of reasons why people either don't know or are confused by or are intimidated by by sharing their concerns, for sure.
Actually, I've got another question. As a manager myself, one thing I've realised that is difficult is to have one-on-one time with people who are on my team because of the way that we're working right now. Because we're all working remotely, it's really difficult to sort of keep tabs on situations that if you're all in an office together, you'd sort of notice things that were going on or notice things that were happening. I'm wondering if there's no change at all or if it's increased slightly. So I'm interested to know from you, Justine, sort of what differences you've seen there, if any at all.
Some people have said actually working remotely has given them a really unprecedented opportunity to really reflect on some toxic situations that they've experienced in the past. And so it's been really useful from that perspective. It's given them a chance to really, work autonomously and have a chance to think back over, why that's given them the sort of sense of freedom. But yes, absolutely, as you just said, I think sometimes it's really amplified issues in that, people sort of sat at home and they're just dealing with, a whole set of demands and information overload and deadlines, and there isn't that opportunity for sort of, human contact or sometimes the safety valve that work can offer. If you're in an office, you can read situations better, you can kind of check people's well-being out on a day-to-day level. All that sort of contextual stuff is missing, and I think for some people it's definitely made people feel much more alone and isolated.
It's interesting to me that some people have said the bullying hasn't stopped just because they're physically removed from the person who's causing the problem, because they still get the WhatsApp messages and they still have the Zooms, and their anxiety is still terrible from it.
Definitely, you're always on call, you're always accessible. It's really hard then. How do you kind of introduce those boundaries? How do you keep an eye on your well-being? It's really challenging.
They're also in your home in a way, like you've sort of encroached on your space.
Usually in an office situation, you can physically remove yourself, or you can go and talk to somebody and sort of, share what's going on, and those things just aren't available.
Something that I always find a practical and useful tool is, I say to people, keep notes of what's happened, dates and times, and who else is there, but also keep notes of the impact it had on you, how it made you feel. Did it make you cry? Did you feel anxious? Did you not want to go to work the next day? Because that's really important. One of the things that is really useful is that the question that we talked about earlier about whether or not it is bullying becomes very clear when you've got all these incidents laid out in black and white, and when you've got them repeatedly over a period of time, you start to see a pattern and you start to see how bad it is. And certainly I've been sent some of these notes, and it's pretty appalling when you see them all laid out like that. And I just wanted to ask Justine, that's something that Spot can help with, isn't it?
Yeah, so the idea of, it's called Spot. It's a chat bot. It's a digital reporting tool, and the most important thing about Spot is that it is an opportunity to create that kind of journal or diary or record. It guides people through a process of making a record, and allows people to start logging, dates and times, and actual sort of factual reporting of what happened, but also, as you say, which is really key, what effect did that have on somebody? And also on a practical level, it is really useful if you then decided that actually you did want to turn this into some kind of report, or you wanted to reach out to somebody at work and share the details of what had been going on. And the main thing about it is that nobody would ever see that record, not anybody from the charity, not anybody from the platform. It's not visible by anybody else. So it's a way of, exactly as you say, Meriel, you can write notes on your phone, or you can have a journal, but if you haven't done any of those things and it's something you really want to engage with, is a very useful way of marshalling your thoughts and your records. James, you've talked about the fact that you're a series producer and that you manage teams, and you've been involved in the industry for quite a long time, and you've got a lot of experience of different kinds of productions. And so I'm just really interested to hear from you about why you think bullying has sort of taken such a hold on the industry? What are the things that are really specific to the ways that the industry works that you think have kind of landed us in this situation right now?
I've been thinking about it a lot. You know, that question, why are we here? And I think back to when I started out. In children's programs at the BBC, and back then, most people were either staff or on very long fixed-term contracts. It did feel a lot more professional in lots of ways when it came to things like bullying and harassment. It did feel to me back then that there was a lot more support and resources available. Whereas now the industry has fragmented. The BBC no longer has that 75% guarantee of making programs in-house. It's shrunk quite significantly. We're a creative industry. You know, there isn't necessarily always that corporate side to things. And because of that, I think that there's an issue there that has led us to where we are. But also because people themselves are freelance, which is connected to the same thing. They don't know where to turn. And if you're a bully, is it easy to hide in the industry? Probably. There are things that people do that they would never get away with if they were in a corporate job as a staff member, because they can move about to another company. That's why I think we're in the situation that we're in right now. And actually, Meriel, I'd be interested to know what you think, because you've been around about the same amount of time that I have.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also think a couple of other things. I think it's not just freelancing, it's the short-term contracts. They're so short, and often you find yourself, or people tell me, they think, oh, well, I've only got 3 more weeks left. I think I'm just going to put up with this. Everything's based on your reputation. Your next job is based on your last job and your reputation. Are you going to rock the boats when you can get out of it in a couple of weeks? But people are beginning to look at the bigger picture now and think about the people that are coming up after them. It's not just about us anymore, it's about the new people coming through. The other thing that I think about TV is that culturally we've been told to value quite an old-fashioned style of management. I think we've been told in the past, oh, so-and-so's got a unique personality, which we all know is code for an absolute nightmare, or you know, that they're a creative genius, but they're quite tricky. Well, I don't think you have to be tricky to have good ideas, and I don't think you have to be difficult. I don't think you have to shout. And I think that is shifting as well. I think that's certainly around when I started.
I suppose, Meriel, for me as well, the thing that I've seen and I've mentioned before, which is managers aren't really trained. And so you end up exactly what you just said, with people who are seen as creatives, and yet they don't know how to manage people. And actually they get a lot of pressure put on them, and they don't know how to manage themselves, that pressure. And sometimes it gets filtered downwards. And I think that can lead to situations of bullying as well.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I don't think the industry is full of demonic monsters. I think that often all these things filter down in some way or another.
Meriel, you're really at the sharp end of really, listening to people. If you could come up with 3 things that need to happen to make things better, I just wondered what your experience has kind of led you to think would be the changes that you'd make.
So as a freelancer, it's not clear where you go. It's not clear who you report to if something is going wrong. It's also not clear for that person what they can do about it. And often the person that you are told to speak to could be part of the problem, but they could be friends with the person that you consider part of the problem. So I would love to see some kind of independent body, in the same way that we can get health and safety officers, or we have COVID supervisors. What if you could have a safeguarding officer, or you could have a presence of some kind that everybody's aware of? We know that we can go and talk to them at any time. We know that they can mediate for us, because I think often some things can be resolved before they go too far. I think we need to have education and training from a really early stage, and people need to be clear about their values and their codes of conduct. So I think at the beginning of the production, it's really valuable if the senior person on that production will just stand up and say, right, this is what we believe in, and this is what we won't tolerate, and just make a little speech. And I think sometimes that could be enough just to know it, just to make people pause.
I agree, Meriel. And actually, I think there is a lot more awareness now to this issue. And I think a lot of that is thanks to the Unseen on Screen campaign, which you obviously spearheaded at the end of last year. But I do think that in the industry, that there are people listening, I hope. And like actually, just even the company I'm working for now, I was really impressed when I first started. The main boss sort of did a speech to everyone that I don't think would have happened a year earlier, and he pretty much said exactly what you just said, and sort of outlined the values of the company, and made sure that everyone understood that. And I think hopefully things are moving in the right direction. But yeah, you're right. There is so far still to go.
Yeah, thanks, James. I think Unseen on Screen was really interesting because it came about when I opened up about my own experiences. And it was on Facebook, I just said, does anybody want to talk about bullying in TV? And I thought I'd get 2 or 3 people. And then I was inundated, people I didn't even know. And so I thought, God, there's something really going on here. And it left me thinking these stories need to be honoured in some way. I need to get them out. They've told me for a reason. And so that's when the anonymous Unseen on Screen campaign was brought into being.
So it's been really good to talk to you both and find out about your sort of individual take on these things. And I think what's really interesting about it is the commonality of experiences and the things that you've heard from other people. They all really tie in. And obviously that's why the Bullying Pathway Service was set up in the first place, was to offer people some practical support and some actual ways of addressing these problems. But it's just the beginning of a conversation, isn't it? Because it's a huge topic and it's something that we need to keep returning to and keep the dialogue going. I mean, there's lots of really brilliant work that's been done in this space, but by you two specifically, but more broadly, we've touched on some of them. So yeah, the charity is working in this space and really collaborating on these issues. And just to remind everybody that the Bullying Pathway Service is open and it's really easy to get in contact. The number is on our website and we'd really like to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Really, I really appreciate you having us on today, Justine. And can I just say, I think it's a really positive thing that your role exists at the Film and TV charity, because you know what, I think the Film and TV charity wasn't on many people's radars a few years ago, but you guys have been doing fantastic work over the last few years, and I think that now is exactly the time that people need that help. So yeah, I really hope that message is getting through to people. And honestly, if anyone comes to me and tells me they're being bullied, I would absolutely point them towards the Film and TV charity.
Yeah, thank you from me as well for having us. And yeah, I just wanted to say that I've actually run the helpline myself when I was going through a particularly bad bullying situation and found it really, really helpful. So I'm always recommending it to people. And now we've got you as well, Justine. I'll be definitely recommending that as well.
Thank you both. It's been really good to talk to you. And yeah, hopefully we can have another one of these chats soon, and there'll be further developments that we can, really positive developments that we can discuss. So thanks so much.
If you've been affected by these or any other issues at work, help is at hand. Please contact our free 24-hour support line on 0800 054 0000. It's free and confidential for anyone working behind the scenes. The support line can make an appointment for you to speak to the bullying advisor. Alongside emotional support, I can help you decide what you might want to do next. The BFI and BAFTA guidelines are a brilliant place to start. We can look at your contractual and legal rights and also look at what support is out there from other industry bodies. You can also access Spot from our website, where you can make a confidential record and upload documents as well, so that everything is stored in one place. Although your record is completely private to you, you can download it as a PDF, and then, if you want to, you can email it to someone when you're ready. Remember that I'm here to help you talk through who you could send it to and to help you understand your options.